This is one of those movies hiding in the corner of millions of people's memories. You might not know its name, but you definitely remember its wild plot. This is the sci-fi classic that sparked a generation's love for the genre, Flight of the Navigator. Our hero David is a teenage boy. One evening, his little brother Jeff is heading home from the neighbors, but the route cuts through the woods. Mom isn't having it, so she sends David to walk him back. David heads out with their dog Bruiser. They cross the railroad tracks and enter the woods. The forest at night is pitch black, the kind of dark where you're convinced something's about to jump out. Suddenly, a noise up ahead. Bruiser goes ballistic, barking like crazy. David grabs a stick and creeps forward. Jeff leaps out and scares the daylights out of him. David immediately gives chase. This little punk needs a lesson, but Bruiser's barking pulls his attention away. The dog is going nuts at the edge of a ravine. David leans over to look, and slips. He tumbles in and blacks out. When he comes to, Bruiser is gone. David makes his way home alone and bangs on the door. That's when things get weird. A total stranger, an old woman, answers. David barges in calling for his parents, but the whole house looks completely different. No sign of them anywhere. David breaks down crying. He's taken to the police station, and after some digging, officers find a missing child case from 8 years ago that matches David perfectly. The year David thinks it is? 1978. The exact year that kid went missing. Unbelievable as it sounds, police track down his family. David rushes toward them, then stops cold. They've aged so much. Are these really his parents? The shock is too much, and he passes out. Meanwhile, a UFO crashes somewhere in rural America. NASA experts rush to the scene. The craft is hovering eerily, light enough to push with one hand. They haul it back to base for study. Back at the hospital, David finally wakes up and gets reunited with his now much bigger little brother. The kid looks more like the older one at this point. To figure out what happened, doctors hook David up to some advanced equipment. As his memories surface, something wild happens. His brain starts firing off intense alpha waves. He starts communicating directly with the computer in binary. And on screen, a strange image. The exact shape of the crashed UFO. NASA has a crashed UFO on their hands, but every attempt to crack it open has failed. Not a scratch. Then a boy's brainwave pattern turns out to be a perfect match for the ship's blueprint. That boy is David, missing for 8 years, back with the face of a 12-year-old, and apparently mentally linked to an alien spacecraft. NASA is losing their minds with curiosity. They approach his parents and ask to bring David in for research. David wants answers too, so he agrees. 2 days at the facility. Once they're set up, scientists start asking questions. David doesn't say a word, but his brain does all the talking. Turns out, unconscious David had been taken aboard the ship and flown to a planet 560 light-years away. The trip took 4.4 hours. But thanks to near-light-speed travel, 8 years had already passed on Earth by the time he got back. David can't deal with this. He storms off. Back in his room, he finds out his 2 days just got extended to a week. He's not about to be anyone's lab rat. He just wants to go home. That evening, a strange voice calls out in David's head. It says it can help him escape. All he has to do is hide inside a food delivery robot. David does exactly that, and the robot carries him straight to the room where the ship is being kept. David stares at the hovering craft, fascinated, and then the hatch just opens on its own. The metal reshapes itself into a floating staircase. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he climbs up. Inside, completely empty. While David is standing there dumbstruck, a chair rises from the floor and a giant eye snaps open in front of him. It calls David, Navigator, and waits for orders. This is the voice that broke him out. Before David can process any of this, guards notice something's off, and the alarm goes off. The ship's front turns transparent. Soldiers are already outside with weapons drawn. David knows he's in deep trouble. On the eye's advice, David orders the hatch closed and commands the ship to leave. The ship lifts off, snapping the steel cables holding it like they're nothing. A blue beam blasts open the hangar doors. The ship hovers at the exit, waiting for the next order. David says to move 20 miles away, and the ship heats straight up into space, the weightlessness hitting him like a truck. Turns out David forgot to specify which direction. He's not trying to sightsee in orbit, so he orders it back down, and gets a full crash course in gravitational acceleration. And wild as that was, it was only the ship's third gear. David immediately starts screaming to try first gear. The ship shifts from oval to a sharp triangle, and launches. The ground blurs past at insane speed, the agility absolutely unreal. David is living his best life. After some explanation from the eye, David learns it goes by Max. Max had been sent across the galaxy to collect biological samples and bring them back to his home planet for study, then return them. David was the sample picked up from Earth. After studying him, they concluded that humans only use 10% of their brains, a thoroughly unimpressive species. Out of curiosity, they uploaded the entire star map into David's brain just to see what would happen. Then they sent him home. But the human body is fragile. Time travel went sideways, and David didn't land back in 1978. On top of that, the ship clipped a power tower on landing, wiping Max's memory. So Max needs David's help, The star map in David's head is the only way for Max to get home. Meanwhile, NASA is still hot on their trail. To shake them off, the ship dives straight into the ocean. Max pulls out his collection of alien specimens. A snotty slug with a cold, a little monster that eats everything in sight, and a one-eyed creature. But one tiny creature catches David's eye. A harmless little puckmarin that makes a goofy laugh when you scratch its belly. Max goes quiet and says its planet is gone. It can never go home. Max then scans David's brain to extract the star map. After the scan, Max will not stop talking. Turns out downloading the map also downloaded David's entire personality. He's gone full kid mode. He even hands the controls over to David. Under Max's guidance, David picks it up fast and decides to fly the ship home himself. There's just one problem. He has no idea where he is, and accidentally overshoots all the way to Tokyo, then ends up hovering over the Golden Gate Bridge. He tries to ask for directions by pulling up alongside a car, nearly giving the driver a heart attack. Finally, David has a better idea. He lands at a gas station, borrows a coin from a completely dumbstruck bystander, and calls his brother. He tells Jeff to shoot off fireworks on the roof that night so he can spot the house from the air. David grabs a map, follows the highway, and flies toward home. That night, Jeff lights up the roof just as promised. NASA agents are already rushing over. David spots the fireworks from above the city and zeroes in on the house. But stepping off the ship, surrounded by strangers and his own family, David suddenly realizes he doesn't belong here. These are his parents, sure, but his real timeline is 1978. Even if time travel might kill him, David goes all in. He turns back, shares a heartfelt goodbye with Max, and the ship punches into the time tunnel. Lightning and chaos everywhere, then silence. David wakes up to the sound of a train. He crosses the tracks and runs home, and before he can even knock, he hears a familiar voice. His parents are out on the boat, calling for him. David sprints over. Whatever he just lived through has clearly changed him. He tells his mom, "I love you." He pets Bruiser. And when Jeff starts his usual nonsense, David doesn't get mad. He just says he loves him too. The whole family is genuinely thrown off. But hey, that's what family's for. Then the puckmarin pokes its head out of David's backpack. Jeff spots it. Max makes a shushing gesture. Jeff instantly gets it. This stays between them. The family heads out to sea together. A streak of light cuts across the sky, and a familiar voice rings out. "See you later, navigator." That's Max, signing off one last time. And that's where our story ends.